The crossroad market of Sho-Battai was named after the vast ancient complex beneath the sand in that area. The so-called Sho-Battai Reservoir was a facility of unknown size that slept below the desert. It was theorized that the reason the water table was so high in the area, and hence isolated settlements like Sho-Battai could exist, was because of some unknown quality of the buried ruins. Theorized by who? Izumi, that's who, leader and sole member of the Wadston Non-Consensual Private Healthcare Guild Archaeological Expedition Team. "Who wants to come with me?" she asked the sleepy guild in the morning after their arrival in town.
"I'll do whatever Mr. Wadston desires,"
Isaiah said, sitting with a now recovered Kelsey in his lap.
"I'll do whatever my prince commands,"
Wadston said, looking over at Nuke. At this, Nuke opened his eyes and sat up. "I need to go steal more stuff," he said. He'd sold off all the luxuries his father had unknowingly gifted him, and was conscious that his associations with relatively honest companions might drag him into honest work, a waste of his talent, energy, and good name. "Well, you're in luck then, Prince Tashino, as I'm planning to steal a few things from the ancients to inspect them. I bet you'd be of great help."
"You mean I'll make a great manager?" "Go on then, get to work,"
Nuke waved. He eventually got up, shook the sand from the torn-up shirt around his head, and went to inspect this scientific endeavour. Just outside the town gate, Wadston and Isaiah were on their knees in the sand. They were digging sand away from a partially exposed ancient building. While it stuck up a story or two from the surface, there was no knowing how deep it went. "It could be hundreds of meters," Izumi excitedly reported. Wadston was less excited, but he kept digging and expressed his regret about volunteering to help in silence. Isaiah was carving through the sand with cupped hands, but most of it was just sliding back down into the hole. He seemed to be enjoying the exercise though, and Kelsey found endless entertainment biting at the flying clouds of sand behind him. Izumi was simply standing and watching history in the making. Nuke joined her. "I see you've taken my men," he noted. "I'll pay them. Can pay you too if you help." "I am helping. Me standing here enhances your prestige immeasurably. I'm famous, you know." "Yes, I know." "Good. Cool. So, where's the stealing you promised?" "It's here." "The whole building?" "Yep. How far's it go down?" "Several hundred meters," Wadston sighed. "Cool. But you know, it might be hard to find a buyer for it." "For a rugged ninja like you?" "My clients usually expect better, that's all." "Well, this is history. It's priceless." "Looking for stuff that's price-full, actually?" "In that case, keep an eye on them for a while, would you? I'm going to see what else is around here." "Sure, but I'm charging, Missy." "Gonna get hot soon, too. Man, adventuring sucks."
"Don't worry, Prince Teshino,"
Isaiah called.
"We'll be out of here and back into the thick of it in no time."
He was right, unfortunately. I mentioned already that Sho-Battai didn't have a skimmer problem, and they were right outside the town gate, so desert rebels wouldn't dare attack. But there was a third scourge in the Great Desert, the Manhunters. The Manhunters worked for noble families, like Nuke's, to find lost slaves and return them to their masters. The twist was that few cared if it was actually the same slave they got back. Therefore, the Manhunters would cut their working hours considerably by just picking up the first person they found, making them look like a slave, and collecting the ransom on them. It was perfectly legal and perfectly common, and hence when Izumi spotted a group of Manhunters coming in from the desert, she stopped feeling about the dunes for metal beneath the surface and bolted without hesitation. And of course, running away was exactly the sort of thing a real escaped slave would do, so that was the contract signed and sealed for the hunters. "Escaped slave!" the Manhunters cried as Izumi approached the town gate, drawing the attention of the guards, and indeed the nearby amateur archaeology crew. "She's a slave? Fucking hell," Nuke said with a hand on his forehead.
"That's not how this works, Prince! Come on!"
Isaiah shouted, rushing off with Kelsey to join the pursuit.
"Shall we join him, my prince?"
Wadston asked, itching to go. "Why? Let the police sort it out."
"Izumi is carrying rather a lot of our money on account of the sponsorship, you see."
"Wadston!"
How did a dreg like you end up being a doctor? Okran's fucking blood, come on then.
Sprinting at full pelt, the gang cut into the chase behind Azumi but in front of the closest manhunter. The fact that some genuine vagrants were loitering outside the gate distracted most of the slavers with easy pickings, and only one went through the gate after Azumi. Once inside, he found Nuke, Isaiah and Kalsi blocking his path.
She's not yours, cur,
Isaiah growled.
Yeah, she's mine,
Nuke added, drawing angry shouts from Azumi.
And who are you? Wearing noble clothes, huh? A thief? Out of my way!
The manhunter demanded, stepping forwards and swinging a heavy club at the prince. Isaiah's sword clacked the blow aside, and a battle broke out, with Kalsi biting at the manhunter's legs, while her master and his master's master took turns with their blades. It would have been a victory for honour, righteousness, and so on, had the rest of the manhunters not piled down the steps from the gateway and called out for the samurai guards to intervene. It took a lot more than fighting in the street to get the guards to wake up, pull up their visors with eyes drawn on, and do their job. However, the manhunters were Sho-Battai's most lucrative industry, and required some level of indulgence to keep the coin levy, from which the guards took their hardly earned pay, afloat. That is why a legion of armoured warriors stormed Nuke and Company and quickly had them on the ground in varying degrees of consciousness. Happy to finally be relieved, the wounded manhunter gave Kalsi a thwack across the head with his club, reopening her recent wounds. You think someone with the temperament for kidnapping and slavery wouldn't hold back from hurting a dog? I hope you begin to understand the degree of evil we're talking about here. Nuke, Wadston and Isaiah struggled in the sand as their hands were bound and their feet shackled. Kalsi lay silently nearby, twitching around as blood started to pool. Only Azumi was absent, having continued her flight when she saw the guards take interest. She had slipped into a nearby store, chased by a manhunter, but when they started fighting, the store security decked them both. Thus Azumi now crawled from the shop with an injured leg, but without any scrutiny from the lethargic law. Nuke and Wadston had already been dragged off to jail, and she got outside just in time to see the manhunters pick up an injured Isaiah and take him in the opposite direction, towards the slave market. She started making her way towards Kalsi, but could only hobble after taking a bone-splintering kick during the melee. By the time she reached the poor dog, it was too late. Azumi was left sitting in the street, looking dangerously vagrant, suddenly alone again. Tradition dictated that in a situation like this, she should skip town and try her luck elsewhere. She had done as much with her last crew. Indeed, she had all the money she needed for a while, thanks to Wadston. But guilt was keeping her still, anchoring her there on the spot where those strange folk had stood up for her and lost nearly everything in an instant because of it. Azumi made her choice. She endured the painful journey to the police station and whacked the strings of coin Wadston had entrusted her with down on the police chief's desk. Nuke and Wadston's charges were dropped without hesitation. Wasn't even that expensive. The police strategy was more about volume of sales than high profit margins, with the main goal being to expand their market share. The RMBB Justice Initiative, or recurrent minor bribes and bails, was reaching wider, poorer and less criminal demographics than ever before, so can only be lauded as a success. The police had patched the pair up, but Nuke was in a groggy stupor and refused to get out of his cage. Immediately bored, the police left Azumi the key and went back to reading their light adventure novels and debating how certain words from Old Earth Japanese were meant to be pronounced.
Miss Azumi, you have our eternal thanks,
Wadston said, coming to join her at Nuke's cage.
This was my fault. I'm so sorry. I never thought this would happen. I just wanted to learn what the ancients did here. Why did it end up like this?
History girl,
Nuke spluttered.
You owe me.
I will do what I can, Prince Tashino. I will make this up to you. I'll work for your, consent thingy guild.
Non-consensual private healthcare. But where is Isaiah?
They took him to the market. Here, the rest of the money,
Azumi said, handing all she had over to Wadston. Waddesdon understood the seriousness of the situation and hurried to purchase himself one prime condition albino shek before that rare specimen was off the market. Azumi sat on the floor and did what she could to ease the strain on her leg, while Nuke's mumbling gradually became more and more coherent.
I did it, Dad. I'm a ninja. Ninja. That's right, Prince Tashino. You were very brave, like a ninja.
Oh, thanks, Mum.
I thought you left. By his blood, I'm not getting into this.
Azumi left Nuke a note, and when the prince awoke, he followed the directions on it to the back of the town where the party was finally regrouping around a campfire. Isaiah was even less mobile than Azumi and lay on the floor with his hands over his face.
So, that was a fucking mess,
Nuke said when he arrived.
It was all a misunderstanding,
Waddesdon sighed. Well, you say that. So History Girl isn't an escaped slave then?
No, they're corrupt,
Azumi insisted.
Corrupt? Why would they be corrupt?
Nuke asked. Azumi was aghast.
I can't... You really think... It's like you've never left your palace once in your life.
I've been to the bar, like 8 times, actually.
You are the most incredible thing, you know that.
Waddesdon was made very jealous by this remark, by his own mistake.
I am a literal prince, so don't go giving me your dreg lectures,
Nuke said, dismissing Azumi with a hand wave as he was accustomed to doing with his servants. Now, what's the plan? Isaiah, my man, where's Kelsey? The look on the others' faces gave Nuke his answer. He went to sit beside Isaiah. You okay, man?
I'm afraid not, Prince Tashino. I think I shall have to leave your services.
What? Why?
There is something I must do. You do not need to be involved.
I'm literally here to be involved in your shit, man. What is it?
Revenge on those damn slavers. They stole my sword and killed my dog.
Man, you're wrong. They killed our dog. Nuke put a hand on Isaiah's scaly shoulder and looked the Shek in the eyes. We're gonna burn their racket to the ground, starting right fucking now. Nuke leapt up and started making space in his rucksack.
What are you planning to do, my prince?
Waddesdon asked, wondering if they were about to be cast from pan to fire. Payback. Literal payback. I'll get our money back. Revenge Part 1. No. Revenge, Episode 1. The Phantom Pennies. And how are you going to do that? Azumi asked, genuinely curious. Ninja business, Nuke quipped. With that, he swung up his bag and stamped away.
Ninja business? You're not a real ninja, Prince Tashino,
Izumi called. Nuke snapped back around and pointed at his torn t-shirt headdress. Uh-huh. There's a reason I wear this, you know.
That's surprising.
You'll see. They'll all see. And with those words, Nuke disappeared into the night, although only because he slipped on a sandbank and rolled out of sight. The others were left to rest and recover mind and body after their ordeal, while Nuke paid a little visit to the slaver's shop. His plan to break into the place and rob them clean was scuppered when he discovered the place was open 24 hours. What would be the appeal of living in a stinky town if you couldn't pop down the shops at 3 AM and get a new slave? He had to just walk around awkwardly and pretend to be a customer, which was extra hard for a man who had never bought anything from a store in his life. Once he was sure the guards weren't looking, he managed to swipe various bits and bobs from a workbench, including a couple of dried cactus strips and a broken angle grinder. Even the most heroic of shadowy thieves starts somewhere, you know. And why start if you don't mean to continue? The next morning, the crew discussed a return to the dig site. They were now in want of money, and even if they couldn't excavate anything good, they could collect up the stuff on the surface and sell it for scrap. Nuke ordered them to get to work.
My prince, why don't we return to the capital instead?
Waddesdon asked. Nuke shot him a foul look. They killed Kelsey, and who knows what they've done with her remains. This town's a disgrace, and we'll make them pay, somehow. I won't stop until I've cost them at least... Isaiah, how much was Kelsey?
About 3,000,
Isaiah said, returning his hands to his face as the topic got to him. Yeah, well, like more than that and stuff. You guys do what dregs must, etc. Hope you find some history or whatever." Thus, while the crew laboured in the desert heat to earn their daily bread, good for sandwiches with emphasis on the sand, Nuke stalked the town. He visited the police station, claiming to be inspecting his men. They hit the one shrug minimum mandated response and returned to their old pocket monster card game, while Nuke walked up and down the storeroom, cursing under his breath at how every locker, chest and cupboard was empty. All the actual police equipment had been sold long ago. How do you think the chief was able to afford that shiny orange dragon card that dazzled his men as it slid coolly across the tabular battlefield? With his plan literally foiled, Nuke went to the bar for a lunchtime tipple. It was a working lunch, of course, for he was taking inventory of that which was not nailed down in the establishment. Bad news, it was all guarded by mercenaries. Worse news, they were out of rum. Amid his protests, Nuke learned that the rum had supposedly been stolen the previous night. Either Nuke had got so drunk from his spoils that he forgot the spoiling, or there was another sleuth in these here sands. Only a man as familiar with the scent of rum as Nuke could have found this thief. The trail was mixed with 1,000 other, far more pungent scents, shall we say, the reason for which quickly became clear. The rum wrangler of Sho-Battai was slumped in the latrines below the wall. Nuke tightened the binding of the shirt around his nose and approached. "Hey kid," he called out, taking a coin from his pocket. "Catch." He casually flicked the coin towards the fat, bloated Shek sitting there in front of him. It landed far short of the mark, and the Shek didn't move.
"Not gonna fall for it,"
he chirped. "You're going to fall into something far worse if you keep lounging there, my man." Nuke got as close as he could endure before continuing. "You must be hungry after all that rum."
"I didn't do it."
"Really?"
"Fine, okay, I did it. But you'll never take me alive."
"I won't?"
"Unless you really want to. I mean,
indeed. I heard that you, my man, were the world-famous rum thief of Sho-Battai."
Am I?
"Yes, I'd say so."
"Wow. World famous."
"And it gets better. I happen to need the services of a man with a certain set of skills, who isn't afraid to get dirty." Man, why am I sweet-talking a fat guy on the bog? Is this part of adventuring? The Shek laughed and finally stood from the latrine and closed the door. Then he hesitated.
"Wait. I told you I won't fall for it."
"If you need more time in there, I can wait. Elsewhere, that is."
"No. You're a noble man. You're gonna turn me in for a bounty."
"You're right to be scared. I am a powerful man indeed. But that just means this town has made a powerful enemy by wronging me and my friends. I'm a ninja, you see."
"A ninja?"
"Yes, and I'm looking for another soul as powerful as mine to aid me in my quest. A noble quest."
Really?
And it gets better, kid. I'm willing to pay, 300 New Empire cats for the pleasure. Is that a lot?
I'll do it! Pick me!
Consider yourself picked. Bog dweller and a corpse carrier. I'm starting a bloody reject Shek collection. Your name?
Name? At home they call me Bloody Els.
Bloody Els. They've got you good, kid. I'll call you Charlie. Come on, Charlie, we've got a town to plunder. Or at least we'll kick up a literal stink. Man. And that's how Ninja Nuke got himself a willing stooge to up the game in his plan to punish Sho-Battai. This strange ogre that emerged from the latrine was actually more than met the eye, although less than met the nose. In fact, the prince's mission of revenge, and indeed his very life, would soon depend on the lumbering mass of bloody Charlie Els. Whatever did the pauper prince do to deserve this?